always wonder what guests think when we sing happy birthday. Oh, goodness. Okay. Andrew Zahn works in development and community relations at Servant Stage. Prior to working for Servant Stage, he and his wife owned a window replacement business for 10 years while still being involved in their theater community in Lancaster County. In the past year, he's performed in 5 shows at the Fulton Theater and most recently had the joy of sharing the stage with his wife and daughter in Servant Stage's production of The Sound of Music. He's called Elizabethtown his home since 2008 and is grateful for the E-Town Rotary for having him here to share about Servant Stage today. Welcome, Andrew.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Well, I got to sit next to these fine folks here and found out that we knew each other, and Servant Stage had been to, was it Woodcrest? Woodcrest Villa recently. They saw our bluegrass show, which is, if you like banjos and like southern style music and singing through your nose, then you probably like that show. But I'm so grateful to be here. I have some things to share with you about Servant Stage, and it's been a while since I've been in a Rotary meeting. I dare say it was 1994 when I was in high school. Do the math there. And I came to Rotary. I think I was one of the, what do you call them? Yeah, I think I was a student of the month. I didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, I sang a song from Les Miserables, which was way out of my range and age profile. But everybody probably just smiled and clapped and was very kind, like you all are. And then I remember doing a magic trick. You ever had anybody here do magic tricks?
Yeah, we have a resident expert.
Who's that?
Okay, Marty.
Oh, really? Wow. I did the trick where you have 2 ropes and you put it, you get somebody with a sport coat, and in essence you tie them in, and then the ropes go through their body. So it worked out okay. Everybody was fine. So let's move on, shall we? So Servant Stage, besides these folks here, how many of you are familiar with Servant Stage? Okay, 1, 2, a few of you. Okay, great. So it is a relatively new theater company, just a little over a decade old. Was started by some friends of mine. A lot of us are sight and sound expats, really. Our bodies have gotten too old to do 11 shows a week. Last time I went to Sight and Sound, I tore my Achilles in a show. So it's time to move on to friendlier stages. And Servant Stage serves the community by offering pay-what-you-will performances to everybody in Central PA. So this is our mission statement. I'm not going to read all of it, but we're going to focus on 2 basic sections of the mission statement today. And really the goal is to make the arts accessible to everybody, but really especially to those with physical and financial limitations. And I think that's something when you're talking about the harvesting of the vegetables and giving the food to the folks in the community. Very similarly, we like to feed people's souls. We like to see them come in sad and then see their countenances change when they leave a show. And we do that by offering all of the shows as pay what you will. So today I'm going to cover the who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's going to kind of be our little bullet point here. But most importantly, I'm going to cover, most importantly is who, no. Most importantly is why. So I'm going to kind of breeze through the who, what, where, when, and how, and I'm going to try and get to the why. Why do we do what we do? So first off, who? There's 6 full-time folks, 2 part-time, and an intern, so we're a very, very small nonprofit. We have hundreds of contracted artists, other creatives, set designers, lighting designers, props people, and then we have hundreds of generous volunteers who volunteer front of house, stuffing envelopes, all kinds of things. So what? We do approximately 10 shows a year, and we break those up into youth shows, and those are not just shows for youth, but those are shows that are performed by youth. usually up to age 19. So there's 6 of those, there'll be 7 of those next year, and then there's 4 main stage shows. All of you should have a Sound of Music playbill. That played 2 months ago, and those are some extra playbills. If you haven't been to a show, that can give you a good view of what Servant Stage does. The Sound of Music, we rented out Lancaster Bible College's auditorium, and we did approximately 16 shows, and 14,000 people came to that show. And we didn't charge for a single ticket. It's, I love the Fulton, I love Sight and Sound, I love all of the great theaters we have in this area, but there's something interesting about seeing the cross-section of the folks who come to our shows. They're folks from all different walks of life, all different belief sets, and yet they're all there having a shared experience. And that really lights me up. That's why I love Servant Stage. And as I said, we're the only theater company to offer, in fact, I don't know another theater company. Does any of you know that offer pay what you want? So we love folks that come with a family of 6, 8, 10 people that can't pay a thing. We love folks that can, so we just try and make it work, and my job in development is to make sure we can subsidize those tickets by getting sponsors and things like that, and I've enjoyed doing that. We perform for approximately 50,000 folks a year, and we perform a little bit of everywhere. I think we're going to get into that in a bit. We have a whole education wing to what we do. So we don't just offer performances, but if you were to come to our offices, you would see people from every age group, from 6, 7, 8 years old, all the way up to folks in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that are performing and involved in Servant Stage. The 3 youth companies, 7 camps, Monday night classes, there's always something happening at Servant Stage. So these are a few pictures of places that we've performed, shows we've done. Familiar with the Junction Center up in Mannheim? This was at the Junction Center, I believe, last year. This is our production of Newsies. And this is our production of Ragtime that was last year. That was at Lancaster Mennonite High School. You may see a theme here. We don't have a theater. A theater company without a theater. I don't know when financially we'll get to a tipping point of wanting a theater, but I think it's good use to use all of the theaters that we have. Financially, it makes sense for us to partner with a lot of the great spaces that are here. So we've existed 11 years without having a home space, and it's a little bit more work. There are a lot of plastic totes and a lot of vans and such, but we do make it work. This is an example of one of our junior productions. If you have grandkids, kids that haven't been exposed to theater, a great thing to do is to bring them to a Servant Stage youth theater production. For one, it's pay what you will. So if they don't like it, you can leave in 20 minutes and you won't be out, $75. Another is that the youth shows are just an hour in length and there's no intermission. I have a 10-year-old, I know what it's like to bring a kid to the show, get a little squirmy at some point, but generally when they see somebody that's young up on stage, those youth can keep their attention a lot more than an adult, and it's a great way to expose them to theater. There's our production of Sound of Music. Let's see if I can use this lid. That's my daughter's ear right there. This picture came out. We're like, oh, it's such a great picture, but oh, poor Kate. Oh well. We know she was in it. That was a lot of fun. A lot of nostalgia attached to the Sound of Music. Another thing we do is we offer pay what you will theater classes. So if you have somebody who's interested in theater but doesn't want to take the plunge and pay $100, $200, $300 for a whole education, have them attend a Servant Stage drop-in class. We do everything from ballet to stage combat. So usually the schedule is up on the website. If that's of interest, you can talk to me after the meeting. But again, that's all just pay what you will. Let's see. These are, it's an example of our youth companies. And there's generally 15 to 20 folks that are in each of the companies here. That's our teen company, and we also have an apprentice company and a junior company, which goes all the way down in age. I wanted to invite you all to see Big Fish. That is not the story of Jonah from the Bible. That is an imaginative story. Do you remember the movie came out maybe 10 or 15 years ago called Big Fish? Anyone remember that? It was a little bit of a sleeper. But a few folks. I think it fits on the stage a lot better than it does on the screen. That's going to be at Warwick High School up in Lidditz, and it's playing 3 weekends in September. And all shows are pay what you will. So, where do we perform? As I said, we don't have a theater. So, our last year, we had 141 performances, and those were at 48 different venues. So, we did raise funds for a van this past year, because we've needed a van for about 11 years. And to go to all of these different shows, take the costumes, take the sets, bring the performers, 48 different venues, and then we offered 63 of those pay what you will theater classes to almost 400 students. So that's the who, what, where. Here's a couple of pictures of some of the venues that we've been at. That's Christmas Carol. That again is a Christmas production. That probably looks familiar to some of you. Lidditz Spring Park. We also did the production you saw of I'll Fly Away up at Lidditz Spring Park. So, if you're thinking, gosh, I wonder if Servant Stage could perform at some place that I know of, or if we've been, let me know. Shoot me an email. We'd love to talk with you. We have a touring manager who's in charge of booking all of those performances. So, who, what, where, when? We perform year-round, and the Monday night classes are on. You can probably figure that out. Monday night. The youth companies meet weekly, and this is what I really wanted to get to, the why. Why do we do what we do? Is it just for entertainment? Is it just to put a smile on somebody's face? Well, for me, it goes a lot deeper than that. Somebody asked me recently, why do you like acting? And maybe if you asked me 20 years ago, I would say, I like pretending to be another person. I like, the challenge of it. But for me, and for most of the people, it really is about finding the community. It's about finding a place to belong, and it's about finding your people. I was at Willowwood recently, and most of the people know that I'm involved in theater there. And this mom came up to me and she said, "Help, my son is interested in dancing. What am I supposed to do?" And so I talked about E-Dance, talked about the Fulton, talked about Servant Stage, and she said one thing that was really interesting, kid is super athletic, goes to Mount Calvary. But when he did his first production, he came home after one of the first couple rehearsals and he said, "Mom, I think I found my people. These are the people that I gel with. This is the place where I belong." And if we can get that for students, they can feel safe. They can feel that they are connected to the community, and they'll be healthy. So yes, I said making the arts accessible to everybody. Here's some of our stats, which are a little bit different than maybe some other theater companies. Why Servant Stage, why it's different. So about 75% of the folks who come to our shows only go to 1 or 2 shows or no shows a year. These are generally speaking, not theater people. These are not folks that have season subscriptions or go to lots of other theater productions. This may be because this is the most affordable option for them and their families. Their education, it's kind of across the board. 56% hold back, 54% rather hold bachelor's degrees, and about a little over a third haven't gotten a higher degree. The age range is kind of evenly split, and the income is also quite evenly split. If you've ever gone to a Sight and Sound show or some of these other, you really have to save up. I can't imagine a family of 4 going to see one of those shows. You really either need a gift or it's something that the family of four is going to have to budget for. I love Sight and Sound, and I met my wife at Sight and Sound. I owe a lot. I wouldn't be in central Pennsylvania if it weren't for that great organization. And they also help Servant Stage a lot. But a lot of folks simply can't walk through the door. There's no way they can. So if you hear of folks like that want to go to a quality show, the Servant Stage is the one that I would love for you to send them to. All of those things, all of the things that we do is with a mission to reach everybody, and that we know that we're reaching a much wider audience than a lot of other places in the area. I wanted to share with you, when we're talking about the why we do what we do, a few of our recent Google reviews. This person said, their mission to make theater accessible regardless of income is a rare gift these days. And then this person, Stephanie, says, I've gotten to the age where I need those little things. And I thought it would never happen to me. I was like, I've made it to 47 and I don't, and then like as soon as I said that, I started like having my daughter read the the ingredients. But the company's dedication to the arts and their mission to serve the community by ensuring everyone and anyone can enjoy their top quality musical and theatrical performances. Thank you for the wonderful experience. And then this is one that I didn't expect. There was a person who attended a show recently that didn't speak English. Loved that we had somebody come just for the enrichment experience. And I mean, what better show than like a familiar show like Sound of Music? She may have even known some of the melodies. So, and finally, a few last whys. Why arts and why arts education? Students with high arts participation that are from a low socioeconomic status have just a 4% dropout rate. And that's 5 times lower than their similar peers in their same socioeconomic status. So what that tells us is if we get kids involved in music, if we get them involved in dancing, if we get them involved with theater, basically, if we get them connected to other people, they're more likely to stay in school. They're more likely to finish high school. Another nice statistic here, that there's improved mental health. This was I think it was the University of Pennsylvania. Now maybe that's the next one. But let me see, go back here. Studies show the results of improved mental health in active or passive participation in the arts. So you don't have to be on stage in order to reap the benefits. I think going through the pandemic, how special it is now to be able to come together in a meeting like this. Do you remember the first time you were able to meet again? Do you remember the first time you saw a movie? Do you remember the first time you went back to theater? It was so special to have that shared experience, everybody seeing the same thing at the same time. And a high concentration of the arts in a city, as we know, leads to higher civic engagement, a more connected community. Talk about the chamber. When you have, what is it? I think it's craft breweries and theaters. Those two are drivers of economic abundance. You get people downtown to spend money, to get together, and that there's all of these spillover effects. This was the one that was University of Pennsylvania. There was a whole study done. It was really boring to read, but basically distilling it all down, it said these are the spillover effects of getting involved in the arts and having the arts in your community. So this is our entire mission statement. And really, the last thing I want to leave with you is not just for the audiences, but part of our mission statement is for the artists themselves. We want to provide a creative community, a creative outlet for these folks. We want them to have Servant Stage as their home, And recently there was somebody who moved from Allentown to Lancaster to work not at Servant Stage, but to get involved in the theater community here. And she had worked for a couple other companies. And after her experience with Servant Stage, she gave us a nice quote, which I thought was next, but it's not. Let me get to that. She said, "I continue to find myself at a loss for words when it comes to describing how grateful I am for the entire process of Sound of Music. Not only did you all allow me to fulfill a dream role, but you reminded me that there are kind and good people in the theater industry who are ready and willing to share the magic and importance in the performing arts." And I really think those Google reviews that I read to you, and this really is the heart of Servant Stage. We really want a great product on the stage, but what's more important is that we care for the hearts of the artists that come to us and that they have a good experience, because that will then translate into a great product as well. So, our vision ahead, we want to maintain pay what you will, kind of averaging out the folks who aren't able to pay anything and the folks who are. Our average ticket price is probably just $8 to $10. And you'll be hard pressed to even go to a community theater production. Generally those tickets are $20 to $30. So we want to maintain that. Touring shows will always, even if we get a theater someday, even if we have a beautiful facility, the heart of Servant Stage is in the retirement centers, in the churches, in the schools, bringing theater to those that might not see it otherwise. And it is our dream to have a central performance space, mainly to our touring manager, because she does a ton of work. But I also think financially at some point we'll hit a tipping point. We're working with North Group Consultants up in Lidditz and kind of talk about where we're at financially and when would it make sense, rather than leasing these spaces, to actually invest in something. So I'm tossing that out to you as the development guy, that if you see a space or think of a space, or if you hear of a project that's in the works, we would love to link arms with like-minded people in the community and see if we could make a community space that isn't just for Servant Stage, but that's something that could really serve everyone. So we would love to have you attend shows, consider sponsoring. Do any of you have any questions?
So moving around must be hard.
Yeah.
How do you practice? Where do you practice?
It's a great question. So we do have an office space, Lancaster County Christian School out in Leola. They have we have some offices that they weren't using that we're gonna have to move out of there next year to get some office space, but we'll still be able to use the basement. So the basement, and this is very common for most theaters, they'll have a space that's not unlike this space where they tape out the stage floor, and once you get to this point where it's a week out from the show, then you'll transfer everything from that rehearsal space onto the stage. Yeah. Great question. Any other questions?
Where have you performed the most? Like what stage have you used the most?
The question was, what stage have we used the most? I would say probably either the Ware Center downtown, which has since been owned by Millersville. They're very generous with us when we have like school, when we did our production of Christmas Carol. They brought in just busload after busload of public school kids from York County as well as the area here. But split between that and Lancaster Bible College, because that auditorium seats a little over 1,000. And that's the tough part, is that we have so many people attend our shows that we really kind of need a larger space. Yeah. Yes, sir. The Magician Friend.
Yeah. Are most of your main stage musicals?
Yes, most of them are. Yeah, I think the last time we did a play was pre-pandemic. We did a really fun show called Around the World in 80 Days. And I got to be part of that. And there's 5 people in the show playing about 45 roles. So it was a little crazy. A lot of fun. Yep. Any other questions?
And I think you've sort of answered it, but Servant Stage, can you just talk about how you guys named yourself?
Yeah, I have if we have time, I have like a 5-minute video, but I didn't want to offer that if I was pushing the time. When is the meeting over?
1:30.
1:30, okay, so maybe I'll show that video. That'll kind of answer that. Husband and wife team, he kind of had a vision for this when he was in college. He was going to school, he's a composer, he's a performer, but he saw the need for, there's a lot of, the idea of accessibility is kind of trending. You know, it's a cool thing to talk about, but to actually carry it out is another thing. And so it was his vision to have almost a Rotarian view of a theater company that actually poured back into the community. I think it was taken from the greatest among you will be the servant of all.
I think the show that we saw was also seen at the Sunny Village the next night, and I think was being played a number of nights in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Do you use the same children, there are a lot of youth in that, do you use the same children in each show, or are they interspersed?
That's a great question. So he was asking about like casting, and specifically with children, do you use the same children in every show? Just to use the Sound of Music as an example, the Von Trapp family, there's 6 kids, but we had 21. So each role is generally cast 2 or 3 deep with an understudy and then like a second understudy. And one thing that Servant Stage did in that case that is unique is that we want each child to get at least 1 performance on stage, even if they're not the primary. So every kid did all of the work and every kid got to perform. Yes?
So when you're looking for other places to perform, what kind of seating are you talking about? You know, cause 1,000 around here, maybe in Masonic Village.
Sure.
And that would be it, but what's your ideal?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have these smaller touring shows that are geared towards smaller spaces. We're doing a show next year that has basically just 4 young ladies in the show, and you'd probably play in this room. So the best thing to do would be to contact our touring manager, and she could, I think he's on the phone with her right now. But yeah, I mean, I would say anywhere from 80 to 100 might be the smallest.
Len and I kind of looked at each other and thought about the marriage hub, the old Moose.
Yeah.
Because, well, they're renovating that space
Yeah.
right now. I didn't know if you had approached Jeff Kime over there at all.
No, I've not. I've been in touch with the gal who did an arts camp there this summer. She did The Little Mermaid there, and they performed in that space. I saw pictures. I wasn't able to go to it, but it looks like it's already had quite a facelift.
Was that Jill?
Jill,
Jill
yes.
Thompson.
Okay, yeah.
I think might have been 2 years ago, right after the pandemic, I saw a small show, I believe, at Drumore Estates.
Yes.
And so that's a very small venue. There was a dinner involved as well.
Yes, that was more of a cabaret style private show. So we do also lots of private shows similar to that. Well, we have quite the community of artists, 150 some odd people who just want to perform, and in order to do that, you need an audience. So we have cabarets that we've started this last year, kind of in the theme of what you saw at Drumore. So,
And that was very good.
yeah, I'm glad you saw that.
And to your point, recently priced one of the local theaters, and it was $55 a ticket.
Yeah.
I won't say the name, Dutch Apple, but this is a steal because the quality of acting is just as good, if not better,
Sure.
that I've seen.
And I'm not disparaging any of those other, I mean, I love working in the Fulton Theater. I love just being in that beautiful building. The history of that building, but most of the performers that you saw even at Drewmore, yeah, we'll perform almost anywhere. Servant Stage is quite unique though, in that we usually have a little bit more audience interaction, and in the other theaters it's kind of an us and them type of thing. Yep.
And there's a place for both of them. but
Yeah.
My point was that this is a very good thing to go see if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, yeah. Bring your, I mean, you got nothing to lose. Bring it, we always say you might be surprised at what you find. Because I think the idea behind it, people naturally think, oh, what is this gonna be like, you know, an amateur production? Well, you know, we have a performer who is in Elizabethtown on Broadway, you know, and then he'll come back and work with us a little bit. So the other thing is this area. You know, we have so many wonderful teachers and performers in this area. These folks that are in our 3 youth companies, they're getting instruction from people who've worked at Radio City Music Hall for 20 years. Folks who have, you know, 5 or 6 Broadway shows as their credits. That's part of the wealth and the abundance of this area itself. Did you have a question as well? Okay.
Did you want to play your video?
I can do that, yep.
You consider yourself as a competitor to the Marietta Theater, the Everett Playhouse, Gretna Theater, and those type of organizations?
I don't see us as that. If anything, most of us all work together really well. Oh, you're doing ragtime? We did ragtime 2 years ago. I can tell you where to get a Model T. You know, I mean, we all have different audiences. Yes, there's some crossover, but my wife's doing a show at Susquehanna Stage in October. And yeah, we all have our own little unique niche, I think.
Your shows are very professional.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Very professional.
Thanks. It's a joy. Well, let me play this video for you if I can figure this out. This video needs to be updated. It was a few years ago that this was filmed, but you can see the founder, the heart behind Servant Stage. And then I click this right
And
now.
you click on it twice, click on the image twice.
Boop. And I clicked it twice. Okay.
It worked just fine when we started.
I was gonna bring 2 laptops, 2 USB sticks. I exported this into every different way. You know, cause it's always gonna be something that isn't gonna go quite right. But if we can't get it to play, it's something you can see on the website, of course.
Yeah. It wants to play.
While he's doing that, the other show we have coming up, if you wanna see like a holiday review style show, it's called Jingle Bell Jukebox. That's gonna be touring all across Lancaster County in November and December. And all of those shows are pay what you will, too.
You use the term Lancaster County. Do you get beyond Lancaster County at all?
We do, yeah. We go up to Berks County. We've gone to Chester. Haven't gotten into York too much, but yeah, we will go beyond Lancaster County. Yeah.
Well, I can't explain it, and
No problem.
let me try it again, let me try it from here.
Well, when you tore your Achilles heel on stage, did they drag you off? How did that?
Oh man. When I tore my Achilles heel on stage, yeah, I was playing a soldier. This was in their Jesus production, 2019. And I was supposed to be the tough guy. And,
That's
you know,
painful.
I got a club and armor on and everything. I'm really acting, you know, because a 45-year-old plays. I couldn't hold Peter back. He's like this big. Yeah, I thought I had just pulled a muscle. I thought that's all it was. But then later found out that, oh gosh, I can't stand on my toes.
So it wasn't the terribly painful type of Achilles, some people say it's just, this tape knocks you right down.
Yeah,
Screaming agony and.
it wasn't painful. It was a partial tear, not a full tear. But it felt like somebody had hit the back of my leg, you know, and I turned around to look, and I'm like, who did that? It was my age.
To the theater, break a leg.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for wishing me to break a leg. It almost happened, yeah. Oh, there we go. Thanks, John.
We just wanted to create a theater company that would be more of a focus on serving.
It has a vision like no other theater.
Yeah.
Too soon.
That might be the problem.
That might be the problem. The Wi-Fi might be,
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi might be getting me a fit right now.
Okay. That's all good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, that was very interesting, appreciate it. Now, actually, you know what, I think we have a gift for you.
Oh, thank you.
Here's a Wi-Fi. Thanks for speaking, appreciate it. All right, see you everybody.